Hello guys and welcome to a new lesson in Linux. In this lesson we will learn how to create and manage RAID software. We will start with RAID 0. So let's first check out the hard disks that are attached to the system. I'll type fdisk-l and enter. As you see here, it will display all of the hard disks that I have here in the system. So now to create a RAID 0 you need at least 2 hard disks. So we will use SDD here and we will use SDE. So now I will start creating a RAID 0 partition. To create a RAID 0 partition you will type mdadm, then 2 dashes, create /dev/md0, and here md0, this will be the name of the RAID 0 partition that I'm creating, and then you will type 2 dashes level and then equal 0, and this 0 here indicates that I want it to be RAID 0, and then 2 dashes RAID dash devices equal 2. This indicates that I will add 2 hard disks, and now I will add the 2 hard disks /dev/sdd, then /dev/sdf, SDE. So now I have 2 hard disks in RAID 0. The first one is SDD and the second one is SDE. I'll press enter. Okay, now I have created a RAID 0 partition that contains the 2 hard disks that we have just added. Let's create an ext4 file system for the RAID 0 partition. I'll type mke2fs and then -t, and then ext4 -j, then /dev/md0, and here of course, as we have said, md0 is the name of the RAID 0 partition that we are making, and by this command I'm making this partition have a file system of ext4. Now I'll press enter, and the next step is that I will make a directory. We will make a directory for the partition RAID 0 and enter, and we will mount the partition md0 on the directory RAID 0. I'll type mount /dev/md0 and then /raid 0, and by that I am mounting the partition md0 on the directory RAID 0 and enter. Okay, here I have made a spelling mistake. Here I have added O, it's supposed to be 0. Now I'll press enter, and then now I have mounted the partition md0 on the directory RAID 0. So I will have to edit in the fstab file. I'll type vi and then /etc/fstab and enter. I'll get in the insert mode and get down to this line here, and I will add 2 hashes and then type RAID, then another 2 hashes and enter, and now I will type /dev/md0, and then I will go all the way up to here and type /raid 0, then up to here ext4, and then defaults 1, then 2, and exit, and I will save. Now I will mount it by the command mount -a, enter, and df -h. It will display for me the new RAID partition that I have just created, and as you can see here, it combined the size of both of the hard disks, Each hard disk is 1 gigabyte, so here it's 2 gigabytes, and here it's mounted on RAID 0 directory. Right now we have talked about the RAID 0. We will talk about RAID 1. Let's create a RAID 1 partition using the hard disks SDG and SDH. Unlike RAID 0, RAID 1 doesn't combine the size of hard disks together. Instead, it saves information written on a hard disk twice, once on a hard disk, and it will make a mirror for it or a copy for it in the other hard disk. For example, if you make a directory on hard disk SDG, it will make a copy of it as a mirror in the hard disk SDH. So if the hard disk SDG fails, then the hard disk SDH will replace it. So now to create a RAID 1 partition. To create a RAID 1 partition, I will type mdadm and then 2 dashes create /dev/md1, and here of course md1 is the name of the RAID 1 partition that I am creating, and then I will type 2 dashes level equal 1, and 1 means RAID 1, and then 2 dashes RAID dash devices equal 2, because I will add 2 hard disks, and then I will type the name of the hard disks. So by that I will add the hard disk SDG and SDH. Sorry about that. And now I'll press enter. And if it displays for you this message, it's not a problem. Just press on Y and then enter. It has created a RAID 1 partition. Now we will give this RAID 1 partition an ext4 file system. I'll type mka 2fs m-t ext4 -j /dev/md1 and enter. I will make a directory for the RAID 1 partition. Make dir /RAID1, enter, and I will mount the partition now on the directory dev md1 and then RAID 1, and by that I will mount the partition md1, which is the RAID 1 partition, on the RAID 1 directory, and enter. And now I will edit in the fstab file, tc fstab, and enter. Here I will get the insert mode, and I will go all the way down to this line over here and press enter. Sorry, I mean you will go all the way to here, and then after this 2 you will press enter, and you will add /dev/md1 and all the way up here, then /RAID1, and here ext4, then defaults 1 and 2, and then you will save, enter, and I will insert the command mount -a to mount the contents of the fstab file, enter, and df-h to display the mounted partitions that I have. As you see now, here is the mounted partition, RAID 1 partition that we have just created. And notice that the size here is not 2 gigabytes like the RAID 0 partition, because here it doesn't combine the size. It just takes the size of one hard disk, and the other hard disk will be a backup or a mirror for the hard disk. And here mounted on is the RAID 1 directory that it's mounted on. All clear. Okay, now we have created a RAID 0 partition and a RAID 1 partition. Let's create a RAID 5 partition. RAID 5 is similar to RAID 0 and it combines the size of hard disks together, but in RAID 5 the minimum number of hard disks allowed is 4. You can add more than 4 but not less than 4. And in RAID 5, 25% of the disk is used for a parity bit, which allows the disks to be recovered if a single disk fails. So to create a RAID 5 partition, you will type mdadm, the same command that we type for RAID 0 and RAID 1. And of course here from level, you will type 5 because you want it RAID 5. And here I will add 4 because I have 4 devices or 4 hard disks. And you can see here the 4 hard disks are SDI, SDJ, SDK, and SDL. I'll press enter. Now as you can see, the partition is successfully created. I will make the partition an ext4 file system. And enter. And I will make a directory for it. And I will mount the partition on the directory. Now I will edit in the fstab file. I'll get in the insert mode and scroll down to this line here and move all the way to the 2, then press enter, and I will add /dev /md5 and the same with RAID 1 and RAID 0. And I will save. And now I will mount by mount -a. Now let's display our mounted partitions. You can see here is the partition MD5. This is the new partition of the RAID 5 that we have just did. And here the size is only 3 gigabytes because if you remember I said that 25% of the disk is used for a parity bit. So 4 gigabytes, 25% of 4 gigabytes is 1 gigabyte, so you will not find it here. You will find only 3 gigabytes. And of course this is the directory that the partition is mounted on. To view or verify the status of the array, you will type md adm and then --detail and then /dev and then the name of the partition. Let's view partition number 5. I'll press enter. If you get up over here, you will see this is the 3 gigabytes, the size, and here is the 25%, the parity bit is 1 gigabyte. And you can see here the word state clean. This means that there is no problems with RAID 5. If you want to show or display all of the arrays, you will type mdadm and then minus minus detail, and then minus minus scan, and press enter. This command will scan all of the RAID partitions that you have. You have here 3 RAID partitions: MD0, MD1, and MD5, the 3 that we have just created. Alright, now I will redirect those results in the RAID configuration file. I'll type the same command, but here I will add 2 bigger than signs. Sorry, I mean 1. Or here it's excluded, and here you make it 2, not 1. And then you will type /etc/mdadm, then .conf, and by this command I will take the results of the scan and redirect it to the RAID configuration file, and this will save your settings and it will not be lost when you reboot. Press enter. Now it's successfully redirected. Okay, now we have talked about how to create a RAID 0, a RAID 1, and a RAID 5 partition. Now let's make a test on the partition RAID 1 and degrade one of the hard disks and see how we can replace a degraded hard disk. I'll type mdadm /dev/md1 and then -f /dev/sdd, and by this command I will degrade the hard disk sdd, which is in the RAID partition md1. I'll press enter. Okay, sorry, here I have added a wrong hard disk name. Here it will be SDH instead of SDD, and I'll press enter. As you can see here, it's successfully removed. Sorry, I mean it has been degraded, not removed. This command will degrade the partition. Sorry, I mean degrade the hard disk SDH. Now I will type mdadm, then 2 dashes, detail, /dev/md1, and enter. As you can see here, this is the active hard disk that has no problem, the SDG, and this is the hard disk that we have just degraded, SDH, and you can see here the word faulty, and you can see here too that there is one hard disk clean with no problems and the other one is degraded, which is SDH. Now I will add a new hard disk to the partition MD1, and it will be the replacement of the SDH hard disk that we have just degraded. I'll type mdadm, then 2 dashes, and then manage /dev/md1. But first, before I replace the hard disk, I will remove it first. So I will type mdadm /dev/md1 and then -r /dev/sdh, and by that I will remove first the degraded hard disk. I'll press enter. As you see, it's successfully removed. Now I will add the new hard disk to the partition md1. I will type the command mdadm and then 2 dashes and then manage /dev/md1 and then 2 other dashes, add /dev/sdf, and by that I am adding the new hard disk SDF to the partition md1. Press enter. As you see here, it's added. If I type the MDM detail and enter, here you will find the word clean, that there is no problems in the RAID partition, and here you will see two words active, and the two hard disks are working properly. Now you can add an additional hard disk to an array or to a partition. You will type mdadm, then two dashes, grow, then /dev /md1. Here is the name of the partition that I will add the hard disk to, and then two dashes, raid dash device, then equal, and then 3. And here I have added 3 because this partition here has two hard disks and I'm adding another one, so the total will be 3. You type the total here, and then I will type two dashes and then add, and then the name of the hard disk. So by this command I will add the hard disk SDM to the RAID partition MD1 and enter. And now I will display information about the MD1 partition, and you'll find here clean. That means that all of the hard disks are working properly with no problems. And here is the new hard disk that we have added. And by this lesson we have talked about how to create RAID partitions, and how to add an additional hard disk, how to remove a hard disk, and how to replace a hard disk. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next lesson.